Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother...
Welcome to the party, pal!
Welcome to another edition of Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother Podcast. I'm Ralph Quartucci.
I'm Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Michelle Wojciechowski, and this is my sidekick and husband, Brad Barowie.
I was going to say I'm Indiana Jones, but I'm not going to do that. I'm John Quartucci. Couldn't do it.
I'm Drew Gould.
All right, here we are. John Quartucci says that wrong, but it's John Quartucci has brought the film to our table today. But John, you have something else to show us before you...
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because our viewership right now is going through the roof. Unbelievable. I literally think there was someone who stayed on for just about 11 minutes, which is big for us.
That's big.
So, just to remind you, please subscribe. Ring the notification button. We need your help. Spread the word of this great, not only podcast, but YouTube channel. So please, we need your help.
Your hat's disappearing, but that looks great.
I know, because it was green screen. Isn't that cool?
Great job. Way to bring the viewership in. I'm sure it'll be huge.
Nothing works like begging. From my single.
I'll beg. I don't care. I'll beg.
John's friend was the one person who, one of John's friends who watched it said, it's not a podcast really, it's a reality show. Which I took as a compliment.
It's kind of true.
So,
I want to say something.
I love it because
Drew
somebody
listened to the podcast. Didn't you, Drew?
Yes.
Well, he had to before he had to see what he was
he's
getting
on it. He no longer listens to it because
I didn't know it was on YouTube first. I listened to a couple.
Well, it wasn't originally. Just took too long to prepare. Now it's pretty easy.
We're very visual. We're very visual here.
So, all right. So John brought the movie today, and John, tell us the movie you brought to the table.
Well, Ralph, I got to tell you, I brought what I think is. Now, Drew said this last week that this is the greatest. What?
UHF.
The fertility item. This is. I'm a big movie fan. But this is, for me, this is my favorite movie of all time. This movie.
2 in a row.
This was at the height of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg's power. Harrison Ford, and I don't need to tell you the story. Adventure has a name, and it's Indiana Jones.
I may actually have a trailer.
No, not a preview, Ralph?
No, trailer.
Is it a preview?
No, that joke is done.
No, we're going to ride that.
Before I show the trailer, John forbade me from watching this in black and white.
Because,
I really wanted to watch the black and white version. So in honor of that, I am going to broadcast in black and white. Okay? Because the black and white version of this movie looks fantastic. But before I do that, let's watch the trailer and take a look. Now, it's an older trailer, so it goes on for a little bit. So just hang in there. You guys.
For nearly 3,000 years, man has searched for the Lost Ark of the Covenant.
The Bible speaks of the Ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. Not something to be taken lightly. No one knows its secrets.
Jones, do you realize what the Ark is? It's a transmitter. It's a radio for speaking to God.
An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
The Ark, if it is their Eternis, then it is something that man was not meant to disturb.
It is protected by forces beyond imagination. It is desired above all treasures on earth by those who are good, trust me, and those who are evil.
I'll tell you everything.
Yes, I know you will.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Let her go.
Indy, we have no time. If you still want the Ark, it has been loaded onto a truck for Cairo.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. A film from Steven Spielberg and George Lucas.
Okay.
Can I say something
Now-
in Ralph's defense?
In my
He
defense,
grew up in the 70s before they played the trailers. They would do this thing, and it would say previews
oh yeah.
of coming attractions.
What's the
that's-
green screen? The green does the
And if
green
we were
screen
doing
say
the show
trailer or
set in the
preview?
70s, it would be
Preview.
perfect. You're absolutely right.
It says preview.
Continue to
preview.
mock him now, but I
This
just want
preview is rated blah blah blah. So
Yeah. So
Yes,
okay.
no need for defense, but thank you.
So all right. So I'm not going to tell you the story because most people know the story.
What's the story, John?
But I'll tell you what I love about this movie. When I think of summer blockbusters, this is a movie that I think of. When I went to see it for the first time, I didn't know it was based on the Republic serials from the 40s and the 50s. I didn't really know what it was. And then when I saw it, I was completely blown away from it because the first 20 minutes were better than most films, entire films. That first 20 minutes was unbelievable, better than most movies. And this movie had action set pieces throughout the movie. And the characters were all great. They had the strong female lead. They had a great villain, Bullock. They had a great sidekick in Sala. But obviously Harrison Ford, who they did not want for this, they wanted Tom Selleck.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And, it would have been different. I saw his, in
It
the
would have been good.
DVD, they showed his screen test. It was actually pretty good. It was different, though. Where Harrison Ford, I think, played this not like a Superman. Like, he really gets wailed on in this movie. I don't think Tom Selleck would have played it that way. But Harrison Ford was perfect. And the only reason why they ended up going with him, George Lucas didn't want him because he didn't want to be De Niro and Scorsese, that every movie he does, Harrison Ford's in it. He didn't want that. But when Selleck had to bag out because of Magnum P.I., Spielberg's the one who said, look, why don't we just use Harrison Ford? And now you just can't picture anyone else in it. And the other thing about it, Spielberg said this about his movie. There's only a couple of movies that I've done in my life where I watch it and I don't nitpick it of what I could have done better. He says anytime he watches this movie, he watches it as a fan because him and Lucas made it. This is something we want to see. How this started was Spielberg wanted to do a James Bond movie. That's how it started. And they were in Hawaii right after Star Wars opened because Lucas is never around when his films open. So they were vacationing in Hawaii. And Lucas said, well, I've had this idea for a long time. The Republic serials. He actually had it pretty fleshed out what you see in the movie. The only difference was it was Indiana Smith, not Indiana Jones. And Spielberg said, you got to change the name. So they changed it to Indiana Jones. And again, Indiana, based on the third movie, was named after George Lucas's dog. So that's where that came from. But this movie, from the beginning to the end, is a roller coaster ride. You'll love everybody in it. And I always say this on these things that we do. This is a movie, when it comes on, I will always watch it from whatever point I catch up with it. And this is a movie I could watch over and over and over again. I just love this movie. Summer popcorn, action adventure, got a little heart to it. There was a few, there were some mistakes in it, filming mistakes, but to me, it's a pretty perfect movie. And Harrison Ford did the majority of his stunts, which I'm impressed by because some of them were pretty good. And the stunt work in general was fantastic on this movie. And again, like we say in a lot of these movies, like Road Warrior, no CGI, right? So everything's done practical, in camera, which is another reason why I love this movie. So for me, it's whenever I think of this movie, whenever I think of Harrison Ford, it brings a smile to my face. And think of how many characters out there in movies that all you see is their silhouette, and you know exactly who it is. Like that one shot when he's on the mountain.
I thought of that when they
you see
when
this
they
guy
came
in
up.
the background. You see that silhouette. You know it's Indiana Jones. It's a guy in a fedora that made it cool, right? So that's why I just love this movie. It brings a smile to my face, and I tell everyone if you haven't seen this movie, you got to see it. It's that good. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, we lost Ralph. Even people in the podcast.
So apparently, this black and white thing really effed up Ralph. Ralph, your house looks great in black and white. Oh, there you are. All right, Ralph, that's it. That's all. I mean, I can't rave on this anymore. You saw my list of movies. the eclectic mix of movies that I love, this is my favorite of all time. This is the one I could watch again and again and again.
Did I miss anything negative while I was gone? It was all positive.
There's nothing.
We were bashing you like crazy.
I just want to say one thing. The reason I keep saying Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay?
Yeah, that's what it says now.
That's how they started selling it.
Came out.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really shocked because I watched it on Netflix, and it's Indiana Jones
and I noticed the same thing. I thought that was interesting.
They did that only when the sequel came out, but it was never Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
And by the way, it was a huge hit too. Obviously, it was a huge hit. Gigantic.
Came out in '81, right?
Really?
And nominated for an Oscar.
So really, we're gonna have nothing negative to say about this movie. This podcast will actually fit in our 9 minutes.
Well, no, well, you can't go after.
See you all next week. We all love it. Bye.
It was a great
it seems kind of slow after Mad Max Fury Road.
Everything is slow after that, right?
That's true. And yeah, I mean, in this movie, you really got to know the characters. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what was this Spielberg? Spielberg
we don't
did
want
what?
no stinking plot.
Spielberg did Jaws, Close Encounters, 1941, then this one, right?
Yes.
Well, from what I understand, this was not a sure thing that they would make this film after 1941.
With Spielberg, yeah.
But no, it wasn't that. He went so over budget.
Yeah.
That Spielberg was worried that he was going to lose work because of that. So he actually brought this in under budget, and shooting was a week and a half or 2 weeks less than they had planned.
Because it was super hot.
Yeah. And the budget wasn't big. It wasn't a big budget.
Yeah.
No. You know, that's one thing I noticed watching it. Well, this is something about me and Steven Spielberg. Of course, I don't know him. But there's a film. I don't watch a lot of his films repeatedly. You know, like E.T., I saw it in the theaters. And even then, it was like, this was a magical experience. I don't want to see it again because I don't think I'll like it. Now, Jaws, I can watch endlessly, you know, but most of his films, and this is on the hairy, like Close Encounters had this huge sense of awe when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I avoid seeing it because I know I'm never going to experience it that way again. And this was almost like that. And I got to admit, after watching UHF and the boulder following Weird Al and turning around, it took some of the
it took the magic away.
But,
that scene was used in so many spooks.
Oh yeah.
After it, and
you know, first of all, I'm going to say E.T. was my date movie. I brought about 4 first dates to that movie.
I was going to say, for which wife was that?
Long before I started getting married.
Ralph, you're so sensitive.
Secondly, I felt exactly the same way you just described as I was watching this for this podcast, which was I just don't have that same feeling I had the first time I saw this movie. Because the first time you see this movie, it was a wonder. Harrison Ford was great. The photography, everything, the music just hit you on such a visceral level that it all worked. I watched it now and I'm like, Wow. I remembered every single line. I remembered every single thing that happens. But I just like Jaws, like you said, I can watch that over and over and over and get the same feeling I had the first time. Alien, same thing. I had the very visceral experience when I saw Alien the first time, and I get that every time I see that movie. This one, I didn't have the same feeling. And I don't know if that has to do with the sequels that eventually came out or just as I get older. This just doesn't have the same impact it had, you know, when I saw it the first time. Still, it's like we talked about Mad Max last week. It's very well made. So you're looking at everything going, wow, how did they do that? It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where he pulls the gun against the swordsman, just some stuff. Karen Allen, everybody's favorite girlfriend after Animal House, right? Mm-hmm. Who didn't want to see her? Everybody was in love with her back then. Now I just don't have, it just didn't punch the same way it did the first time.
Well,
and I wouldn't repeat this. I wouldn't watch this again if it came on cable.
What struck me about the film is, and I still enjoyed it, I watched it with my wife. My wife does not like watching films a second time. She's like John Waters, who apparently is the same way. The director doesn't like to see a movie twice. But she's readily sat down for this one. She saw the scene with the sword and the guy shooting him. She thinks that's the best scene ever in a movie. She would bring that one to our special episode. But what I still really enjoyed this movie. But, you know, it's funny you're talking about the budget. What really struck me is how threadbare it was. You know, I really just got the sense that they were not spending epic amounts of money on it. But, you know, you brought up the sequels, and they did color me a bit. I saw the second one, and I saw all of them in the theaters. But the second movie, I just did not like at all, and I would never watch it again.
Yeah,
you know,
very dark. It was very dark.
They want this big set piece. Instead of the cars and the horse, they had it in those carts and the mine. But I really liked the third one with, I think Sean Connery compensated.
As the father.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great relationship.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, that last one, Crystal Skull.
We don't, anyone who's a fan doesn't refer to that movie.
Yeah.
Ever. And they're making another one. They're making a fifth.
Yeah.
They are?
It's sort of like Godfather fans talking about the third one.
The third one, yeah.
They're always pulling me back in.
So I do like what Artie Lang says about the Godfather box set. He goes, it's great. You watch the first two movies and cut cocaine on the third.
Yeah, he's doing well, that guy.
Yeah. Artie
Lang. I feel that way about the Indiana Jones one. But, you know, I'm not putting the film down.
That's okay.
It's really well written. It is really well written.
Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah. And I do think, like Ralph, is that one of the reasons it doesn't play as well is because it played so great the first time I saw it.
Well, and that's fair. I just don't, I don't feel that way when I watch it. What it does for me, it reminds me that first time I saw it and my visceral reaction to it. Because again, I went in not knowing anything about it. And when you know, all the action and everything, oh my God, this thing never stops. There's always something happening.
No question. It's a B movie, you know.
Well, now again, back to what you're talking about, the budgets. They originally wanted this to be a B movie.
Yeah.
They weren't looking at it, because their intent was to recreate the serials, the Republic serials, which are on shoestring budgets. So they weren't trying to make a big budget blockbuster. Now, it ended up kind of that way.
Right.
But that was their intent from the beginning. In fact, Kasdan, Lucas, and Spielberg wrote a treatment for it in about 3 days. They locked themselves together in about 3 days. And Spielberg said they had about 90% of what you saw on screen in those 3 days, which almost never happens in script.
Those.
What was
I
that?
believe they were all taped, and you can actually hear the conversations.
I didn't even know that. Because that almost never happens.
And with that, John's off the podcast. Bye.
No, wait a minute. No, you guys keep talking.
I think if you search for that,
I'm going to be listening intently. So please keep.
Drew, you were going to jump in with something.
Well, what I was going to say is, first of all, I adore this movie. I grew up on this movie. It's funny what you said about seeing it and not wanting to watch it again or watching it every time it comes on. The first time I saw the movie, I didn't actually see the movie because I was a little kid. I was born in 1976, and my father and my grandfather got in serious trouble because they took my brother, who's 2 years younger than me. They took both of us to this movie, and I love horror movies. I couldn't handle any of that stuff. So when I first saw the movie, I did not see any of the bodies that she screamed her way through out of the well. And I didn't see any of that stuff. But more importantly, in the really exciting action scene around the flying wing where Pat Roach plays that giant German who's beating the crap out of Indiana Jones ducks and covers his face, and Pat Roach turns around to see the propeller, and the film burnt out. We actually waited an extra 20-some minutes. I couldn't even, now knowing how that works, I couldn't believe
that's great.
20 minutes. So
that happened in Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that takes you
when
out
the
of the
propeller was going to kill the guy in Forrest Gump.
No, actually, it was funny. It's when he was running back and forth across the country, and he turns around to the crowd following, and he said, "I got something I want to say," and the film burned up. And then we sat there for 20 minutes while they fixed it. And then when it came back on, you didn't know what he said. He was walking.
Right. Yeah,
I want to just
to the guy.
I got a quick question before Drew keeps going. Forrest Gump, good movie or bad movie? Go.
I like it.
Good movie.
Good movie.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good
Just
movie.
wondering.
Well,
Go ahead,
okay,
Drew.
you're not going to tell us what you think?
I liked it when I saw it. I hate it now. But okay.
You hate it?
Yeah. Go ahead, Drew. Sorry.
Forrest Gump is trash.
Thank you.
But did you
I
like
would watch it many
Couch?
times, and I have.
The two things that I really like about this movie as I started watching it again. First of all, movies are basically just a bunch of choices, and this movie makes every decision right.
Yeah.
It's kind of incredible because everything that's in there in the script is there on the screen, and that's all right. But like you said, it could have been Tom Selleck. That could have been a really good movie. It's not Harrison Ford. It's not the movie that got made. But also, one of the things I really like, John mentioned in the intro, that Indiana Jones gets the crap kicked out of him the whole movie.
Yeah.
I really like that there's definitely stuff that he does that's not human. It's superhuman, like getting under the truck and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, he fights these people and he gets exhausted.
Right.
And like he shoots the guy because he's tired of fighting. And when the German the giant guy that I didn't get to see die with the airplane the first time, when he steps out and starts like, hey, let's fight, the Indiana Jones' first reaction is, oh
yeah,
he's like this.
And that was so real. I just remember that I love that, and I always related to that. And it reminds me, there was one of the underrated James Bond movies. It's funny, speaking of James Bond, is The Living Daylights, which was the first Dalton one.
Yeah,
it's actually a really good movie, and it's a good Bond movie. But there's a scene where there's a big fight in the mansion where the villains are trying to extract a guy that they want to kidnap, and these security guys have a fight with one of the villains in this kitchen, and it is the most real fight with all these guys hitting each other with pans, but they also get really exhausted. And I remember even as a kid thinking, oh, that's like Indiana Jones, because it feels more real. It's exhausting. To have a fist fight and then have another fist fight and then have another fist fight. And,
and you're like, oh, for crap's sake, seriously?
Well, that's that. See what you...
When does it make you go, that's not real? The movie makes you go, yeah, exactly. The movie makes you go, this guy is really, he can take it. It's not about not getting hit. It's about getting back up. And it's really, it's very satisfying storytelling. It's really fun.
But it is really cool because I love that he's like a regular guy in that he has fears. I don't like snakes.
He's afraid of snakes.
Right. Snakes.
Why is it always got to be snakes?
Yeah, why is it got to be snakes?
Why is it always got to be snakes,
Yeah. Well, Sala said, John Rhys Davies, or whatever his name is, he said he gets to ask to say that line all the time. Asps, very dangerous. You go first. Hey.
Yeah, I prefer... oh, my friends, I'm so pleased you're not dead.
I mean, it is. You're right about one thing. Every choice they made worked. The whole sword gunfight thing was because Harrison Ford was sick and just didn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
Really? Made the suggestion.
They tried filming a pretty elaborate.
Right. Let me just shoot him, and because he was food poisoned.
They all had
or whatever.
food poisoning.
So it all worked. Now,
Except
as I get
Spielberg,
older, I want to say
SpaghettiOs.
The scene that I love, the one stupid thing that the only thing I laughed at or kind of chuckled was when the Nazi comes in to torture Marion
with the hanger,
and he pulls.
It's a great
sight. He goes, and they're looking at each other like, "What's he going to do this?" And he turns it into the hanger and he hands it back to the guy. Okay, I thought that was funny.
That guy gave up acting and became an agent.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then that role brought him back to acting again.
Oh, wow.
And he was great in it.
Fantastic.
He was such a great villain.
Trailer. I'm just thinking, how great could it have been if they got 1940 Peter Lorre in that role?
Well, I think that's why they picked him, right? They said he kind of looked like Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre, yeah.
He died pretty young, actually.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
The Nazi, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And imagine Sidney Greenstreet as Belloc, Yeah, that would have been a hell of a
Belosh. Go ahead, Wojo.
One of the things that we talked about is just like you said, John, where you see the silhouette and you know who it is. Again, the music in here, the whole.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention the music.
By John Williams. All you have to hear is da 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 da, and you know exactly what it is. And it was neat to listen to it this time, because all the other times I've seen the movie, I didn't pay attention like I am, before we do this. And one of the things that Brad and I were talking about was how all throughout the movie, it's not just always da 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 da. What? We have an update that showed up on. Okay, sorry. All of a sudden, something popped up and said an update, and I was what? But he mixes that in like slower and faster and really softly in the background. And if you pay attention, you're thinking, wow. I mean, it's almost like subliminal messaging. And here's the song again. And here's part of it again. And it just, and I looked up, John Williams is still alive. I mean, he's scored over 400 things. It's ridiculous.
Well, you know what's amazing about that, Roger? We keep talking about all these movies that he wrote music for, and every time we talk about it, we say the music is iconic.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, how many iconic music does he have?
I know.
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
I was
The
looking.
Lost in Space theme?
Yep. Jaws. He did Close Encounters. He did E.T.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Superman.
I mean, that music, it's crazy.
Yeah, we've watched a lot of these recently.
Yeah.
What's amazing too is
we actually watched Jaws over the weekend too.
how many times that hero piece is a prelude to him doing something big. Like right before he's going to do something that he's going to do well, they play that music. When he drops a statue to get out of the wall there, it's always leading up. They always play that music when he's going to do something super heroic. Plus, he's got the Marion theme in there, the love theme they drop in whenever those two are doing their thing.
That's what I was going to say is that, a lot of this movie it comes out in the 80s and it's consciously old-fashioned materials. To me, like, I didn't grow up on that stuff. I was too young. I wasn't the age of the men who were making the movie. No, I'm not saying that everyone here is very AARP or anything. That's not what I mean. But
it definitely sounded like that.
I'm Gen X.
Doesn't get AARP to Michelle now.
Yep, there you go.
The way I think about this movie, and the music is a big part of it, is that this is the highest praise. This is good old-fashioned entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the kind of movie that I still love. Like, the movies that get made like this, even the other Indiana Jones movies, they don't always work. But I mean, I have a real soft spot for stuff like The Rocketeer, which is
I love that movie.
Exactly the same thing. And the first Captain America movie by the same director as The Rocketeer was like an old-fashioned war movie with a modern view, that sort of thing. So the music itself, I mean, you haven't learned this about me yet, but I am completely out of my mind in love with movie soundtracks. And John Williams soundtracks are, they're the greatest among the most classic, the most amazing. But this is the one, really, more than even Star Wars and some of the other ones, this is the one, the desert chase music and the flying wing fight. This is it's just epic, incredible music. And the way that he writes themes for characters and follows the action in that way is very old-fashioned. That's not really done very, very often. And so when it's done right, not only do you notice it, you think people end up saying something like, well, that's kind of like how John Williams would write music, which is really, I mean, the guy is a force to be reckoned with. What is he, 90 now? And he just did the Star Wars movie. Terrible movie, but, great.
Yeah, he's still working.
Yeah. Well, everything they did, including the punches. Any punch you hear just came out of it's B movie, right? It was
the gunshots.
The punches, the whip. Wilhelm screams at it because he's throwing Nazis out, trucks. You're hearing the Wilhelm screams. And
what was that, Drew?
You guys know what Mickey Mousing is in film music? So it's like the idea, like there's an old clip of Mickey Mouse and he's sort of walking down the road and the music is going along with like boop, 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 boop. And it's
like we do with the dogs.
Yeah. But that's what he writes with all the action and everything, like the big stings of he's getting punched or somebody's falling off a bridge or whatever it is. And that's, again, it's old fashioned and it works. It's not it's good because it's old. It's good because it works, and it's old because it's been good for the whole time. And
that's a good point. It's old fashioned, but it's not dated.
Right. Exactly.
Well, also in lesser hands, it wouldn't work.
Right. Because they tried when that came out. They tried to do it with Tom Selleck, Richard Chamberlain. They tried to make ripoffs.
Right.
And they weren't even close. And they had bigger budgets.
Romancing the Stone hit it pretty well, but there's Zemeckis, right?
Different.
Well, it's still the same idea.
But that was good. No, that was a good movie.
That was a great film. Also very well written.
It wasn't.
Yeah, these hands were sure hands. Spielberg, Lucas, and Harrison Ford. Frankly, he came up with a lot of that stuff. The line about where they're in the boat and she's healing him up, and he goes, "It's not the mileage, it's the years or something. It's not the years, it's the mileage.
Not the years, it's the mileage.
It's not the years." That's Harrison Ford's line.
Here's not
all sure-handed people in this one.
And he loves that. And Harrison Ford,
one of the best blockbuster writers of his era. I thought he could do no wrong until I saw Dreamcatcher.
Oh, that's one of the best bad movies of all time.
I love that. Is that the four guys in the cabin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the
Astro
alien
movie.
Yeah, I actually like that movie. It's
Oh, God.
Because of course
Bring it
you
to the
do.
podcast, Ralph. That'll be a good discussion.
John, did he direct Silverado?
I believe he did direct it. Yeah.
Did he write it
directed
also? 'Cause
Silverado.
that's a Western. I love that movie.
It's a great movie. And that's another movie that's taking everything that this guy loves about Westerns.
Yeah.
Making a big modern, this is what Westerns could look like today with a huge cast. And that's such a great movie.
And here's something, too, about Lawrence Kasdan. I mean, it's easy, and I know your wife really hates Crash, and I hate it, too. But he did it earlier when it was called Grand Canyon.
Yes.
And he did a good job with it. And Crash is so terrible, and Grand Canyon was a...
Yeah, Grand Canyon is a good movie.
It's definitely a better script, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he did Body Heat, didn't he? Wasn't that one of his first directorial?
Did he direct that?
I think he directed it.
Yeah, he did direct it.
That's an old podcast, by the way.
That was Double Indemnity is what that was.
You can get that on our Patreon page.
Yeah, but Michelle,
you're right. It is an old-fashioned movie. I like that.
I'll be talking about sex with her. She didn't want to be trapped in the basement with us on that episode.
Cool.
Body Heat.
Michelle, and I think she did say she was not going to be trapped in the basement with us.
Yeah, I said I'm not talking about that with like 6 guys in Ralph's basement. That is not happening. It was bad enough for that other movie that
The Counselor.
The Counselor. I just know.
I'm going to ask.
Everybody
I'm going to ask if LDP saw The Counselor. I hope you don't mind.
And that will be the first and last celebrity cast we ever have.
Hey, Drew, one question. Did you see The Counselor?
Yes, I told you. It's a terrible movie that I really enjoy.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's not a negative review. That's a positive review.
Oh, my God.
Fun, like it's like Dreamcatcher. So many things are there with people who are really good, and everything is wrong.
Right.
Everything is wrong. Like
In a sense, it's the exact opposite of this movie.
Trash. But it's just fun.
Did Lawrence Kasdan write Dreamcatcher or direct it?
Yes, he did. I don't know if he directed it, but he wrote it.
Wasn't that a Stephen King? That's a Stephen King adaptation, right?
Well, Brad, did you see this in the movie theater when it originally came out?
Did I?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay. No. But Drew, you did.
I see a lot of movies when I was a kid in theaters. I mean, I saw some, but I didn't see a ton. But
yeah, and we weren't as young as Drew, but we were.
I mean, I was probably 12 or 13, I guess.
Yeah.
It was, what, 81?
That's, I mean,
that was still when, like, the Grand Theater in Baltimore, you have one movie to choose from. If you didn't go to that movie,
I do remember when that movie was out, though. It was in the theaters for close to a year, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was huge. In fact,
when
I saw it in the movie theater, Ralph, remember Sean and Ralph and I were talking about Superman when he saved the helicopter and the crowd went absolutely nuts in the audience? When I saw this, the scene on the boat where they're looking for him on the boat.
Yep.
And then they go, well, I found him. Where is he? There. And he's on the top of the submarine. The audience went crazy. Now, no one sat there and went, well, they're about to dive.
Well, I know, and then the next scene you see is off the boat.
Is he going to hold on?
You can't. You got to suspend.
They were going crazy.
And then he's inside. Boom.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean.
How are we going to make the transition? We're not.
Right.
Yeah.
And Spielberg said that. He goes, you got to suspend your disbelief. And no one cared.
Yeah.
They were all cheering that Indy was on the U-boat. It was so cool. And that U-boat was a model from Das Boot.
Oh, wow.
Because they needed
that reminds me of is that when he gets to the secret sub base, that's another one of my favorite little scenes. He beats up a Nazi to steal his uniform, which you see in every movie. I'm going to dress like a storm.
It's too small.
Oh yeah,
hilarious.
Yes.
And he gets in trouble.
Like we talked about that too.
I mean, come on, this is fun.
Now here's another tidbit. If you guys didn't see this, I watched this in the documentary. There's a scene where Bullock, at the end when they're in the desert there, and the fly goes in his mouth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The fly didn't go in his mouth. Spielberg cut it so it looked like it went in his mouth. He did that purposely because they interviewed the actor, and the actor said that never happened. It flew away. But when I saw it, it looked like it went in my mouth, so he did that purposely. I thought that was a riot.
So, Wojo, let me ask you this. The Marion character comes off as a strong woman, right?
Yeah.
What's your feeling on that? Is she a strong woman, or is she a damsel in distress? Or, by the way, those weren't her legs; they were hanging down in the pit. That was some stuntman that shaved his legs.
Because she was afraid of the snakes.
Right. I mean, I thought she was like a dream, like a writer would, a man would write that as the dream girl. She can drink better than everybody. She's cute. She can fight. She's there by the guy's side. But I'm just wondering, does she come off as a damsel, or is she a powerful?
I saw her as a powerful, woman. I don't think because Indy had to help her at different times. I mean, she also helped him. So I saw it more as an equal kind of relationship. She gave him as much crap as he gave her. He walks in and she's like, where have you been? Do you know what you did to me? Blah, blah, blah. She's not like, oh, I'm so glad you're back, blah, blah, blah. Except I do have a problem, and this is in any movie, okay? When they have the female characters run in heels.
Yeah, how does that work?
We don't do that. It does not work. You know who did that?
Jurassic Park, they did that.
Dallas Bryce.
Dallas Bryce Howard.
In Jurassic Lost
World or whatever it was.
That was the one thing I was complaining about the whole time. I turned to Brad and I said, first of all, she wouldn't be running in those heels. She would have kicked him off. Second of all, if she tried to run in those heels, they would have broken. And that's one of the things where I can't suspend my disbelief. I'm just like, that's such BS.
That's so hanging on in the submarine wasn't the issue. It was the shoes.
No, it was the shoes. Exactly.
I think, Ralph, do you think she was a damsel in distress? She whacked the guy with a frying pan. She hit the guy over the head with those
I was
claws.
just asking. Listen, as a 15-year-old male, I thought she was great. I mean, I was in love with her from Animal House. She was the perfect girlfriend in Animal House, too.
Kate Capshaw in the second one was a damsel in distress.
Oh, yeah.
The whole movie.
Screaming.
Nothing like Karen Allen.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, is she in the fourth one?
Who?
Karen Allen.
Yes, she's
either that or Karen Allen's grandmother.
Is she? That's not. See, that's mean. Is she Shia LaBeouf's
they were both too old.
mother? Is she the mother of?
Yeah, she's Shia LaBeouf's mother.
So that's Indy's kid.
Boy, they were grooming him to be the next Indiana.
Spoiler
do you
alert.
know he's apologized for being in that movie? He said, I never should have been in that movie. I shouldn't have been.
Who, Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah.
Well, frankly, it was not his fault. The movie was horrible. It was poorly written. They know it.
And it was so much CGI in it, That's what's beautiful about it.
That's again why I love this movie so much. Again, it's like Fury Road. You sit there. I will tell you this. It's funny because that show, the show that does the trailers, but they do funny trailers. I can't even think of the name of it. I'm drawing a blank. What is it?
Honest Trailers.
Honest Trailers.
Yeah.
They did an honest trailer for this that I just watched, and they said Indiana Jones is protecting antiquities, except when every antiquity he goes after, he destroys everything around it. all these old things he completely destroys. And I'm going, oh my God, it's so true. The temple at the beginning, when he pulls the thing off, it falls apart. He rides that jackal right through the walls. So he did.
I was thinking that was out of line.
Yeah, he was out of line. Wait, this belongs in a museum.
Yeah, it's not good archaeology. If you watch these movies like I did and you said, oh, I want to be an archaeologist when you grow up, you learn pretty quickly. That is not archaeology. And it's
No, it's not.
It's not archaeology at all. So,
but even the lines, everybody knows the lines. I mean, it's just the music. I mean, the music is so ingrained with the character. As soon as you hear that theme, the march, you automatically think of Indiana Jones, right? Mm-hmm. Superman, same thing. It's like, it's amazing. Going back to John Williams, it's like, it's incredible how much success he's had.
Well, that's what I mean. I can't remember the last time I saw this movie before I watched it for this podcast. And I knew every single line before it was even said. So it's in there. There's no question it's in there.
Well, it's in the culture.
It's in the culture. The
like
snakes,
Jaws?
why is it got to be snakes?
Right.
All that stuff is in there. So I guess, this came out in 81, right?
81, yeah.
So, yeah. And I don't think I've seen it since I saw it in the movie theater.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't remember, honestly. And maybe leading up to some of the sequels, I might have, I don't know, because I saw the sequels. I really like number 3 with Sean Connery. I thought
that was good. Mm-hmm. And they went back to the Nazis, too.
And I think Spielberg did Spielberg direct all of them?
Yes, he did.
Oh, wow.
He's not directing the 5th one.
I have to say, he's a little hit or miss, too. Someone was saying, well, I read an article, or IMDb,
he's more hit than miss, Ralph.
I know. But
Wait, we need more conflict,
some actor was going to.
Ralph, you don't know what you're talking about. What the hell?
Let him speak. Let him speak.
Oh, sorry, Sean.
And for our 3 viewers, this is the time in the podcast.
Klaus Kinski,
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Was offered the role of Balak, I think.
Right.
Really?
And he turned it down because he said Spielberg movies are trite and they don't mean anything.
Who was offered it?
Klaus Kinski, is that his name? Kinski?
Klaus
Kinski, yeah, the guy who was in Werner
Nosferatu.
Werner's
Hero, Wrath of God.
He did some cheesy movie instead of this one, though. He ended up doing some. He does a lot of cheesy movies too.
I think he ended up doing Fitzcarraldo, which is one of Werner Herzog's greatest movies about a man who decided to drag a steamboat.
Push the boat over, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And to make
really
the movie, Werner Herzog actually dragged a steamboat over a mountain to make the movie. Like that's
he did it for real.
Kind of crazy.
Legit. That guy's legit.
I think the knock on Spielberg is it's too.
Spielbergian?
He makes movies for the audience. I think that's a knock on him. And I don't think it is a knock because people like to go to Spielberg movies. You know what to expect. Hey, he did Schindler's List. He did his art movie, whatever you want to call it.
Have you ever seen Duel?
Yeah, I love Duel.
Yeah, Duel. No, I'm not. The guy's great. I'm not even questioning that. But it is. No,
I'm not saying you are. But people who knock him because of that, I think it's a mistake. Why everyone goes to his movies?
Look, they try to duplicate it in Super 8, right? That movie, Super 8, was just a knockoff of Spielberg, and it just wasn't the same.
Yeah,
and you see the shots.
Knockoff, but it wasn't.
It's pretty good.
Original, yeah.
Didn't he produce that?
Yes, Spielberg did produce that.
He produced Super 8.
I believe so.
Interesting.
Spielberg's been in the J.J. Abrams business for a long time because
I think
Abrams has been in the Spielberg inspiration.
I think J.J. really was like after Spielberg, right? He went,
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like I said, I haven't seen it for 20 years, and I knew everything that was going to happen. It's because it's in the culture.
And you've got the hat.
I have the hat. It's an official. Now you can see my actual head.
It says Indiana Jones in it.
Look at that, huh?
Right? Well, you look more like the German.
After the face melted or before? By the way, they were going to have an R rating.
Get that from your mom, like at Christmas one year, you both got Indiana Jones hats for everybody.
No, John's wife buys him all this stuff for him.
My sister bought me the hat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they liked
my
to play
wife
a little bit.
Bought me
the whip,
the official jacket from London.
Nice.
And the official boots, the shoes he wears.
What do you wear this stuff around the house?
I wear it for Halloween. You know why? Because I'm cool.
Well, my son Leo, when Leo was 8 years old, he dressed up as Indiana Jones for Halloween.
Yeah, but he didn't look like me. Was he this tanned?
He looked pretty good, actually. I'm not going to lie. I'll have to show it. I'll show it on the when I edit this thing. You'll see.
One thing about
smiling, talking about this movie. This is what I'm talking about. I love it.
I'm going with Ralph because it's really kind of shocking to me that a lot of Spielberg films I don't think get the respect they should now. Because it used to be when a Spielberg film came out, it was an event.
Mm-hmm.
It was a true event, even as misfires. And, I think the turning point was that film about the guy in the mall trapped at the airport.
The Terminal with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
I think that was the first one where people were like, yeah, Steve.
I didn't like that movie.
But it's like when the BFG came out, I'm like, I saw it on like DVD and I'm like, or Blu-ray, and I'm like, how come I didn't know this movie? It's a kids movie directed, with something like this, directed by Spielberg. This should have been a monster, hit or something. Mm-hmm. And there's a number of films like that I felt that, what was the last Spielberg film? I saw the Spy one, the Coen Brothers.
Bridge of Spies. That's an excellent movie.
That's an excellent movie, but it's not.
Wait, no, he directed Ready Player One. Wasn't that the last?
Oh, I did see that one too.
But again, all CGI.
I didn't like Ready Player One.
It was all right.
Did you like it? Did you like it?
I liked it. My whole thing is I'm so tired, and I guess it did.
I saw it with you, John. Remember?
I know you did. You fell asleep. You fell asleep. I liked it more than Ralph.
I love the overlook scene, the animated Shining section.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I liked.
Frankly, I'm tired of CGI. I'm just tired of it. Mm-hmm. And I know in that movie it was really appropriate. I'm just sick of it. I like the practical stuff. I think for me, it's just better as an audience member. I just like that better. I like
# get off my lawn.
Well, you know what? You're right, but I just think it looks too cartoony.
He's doing
No, I
West Side
understand.
Story right now, right?
Yeah, he's doing West Side Story.
I can't wait to see that one.
And they're going to film most of it in New York.
I think he'll do that
I
one
think that'll
justice.
be exciting.
Talk about a disaster. Apparently, the lead of West Side Story is having some Me Too problems now.
He is.
Before the film comes out, all that money
That's the
spent.
kid from Baby Driver, that kid.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Elgort.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
but he's denying it, of course.
That'll.
By the way, did you see Kevin Spacey up on the throne there, Sean?
No.
On the British throne with what's her name who just got busted, Epstein's girlfriend there? The picture of her and Kevin Spacey on the British throne.
I heard she accidentally fell on a knife 27 times in prison.
Anyway.
But back to Spielberg for a second. You know, if Spielberg's career ends tomorrow, he's got more great movies.
Yeah, this is not a. You don't
know
have
what
to
I mean?
defend Steven Spielberg.
Frank Capra, they used to say Capricorn, but people loved his movies. Spielberg, when you look back in his career, I mean, fine, he's got some flops, but how many of his movies are ingrained in our culture and have been since they came out? I mean, how many directors?
It's the same thing with the best actors you see. They've all had flops.
Yeah,
you know, they all had bad
It's like
movies they
Ridley
were in.
Scott. Ridley Scott doing.
Oh my God.
The Counselor.
He did The Counselor. Oh my God, I like him because he did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show.
Ridley Scott did?
Yeah, he was involved in that heavily. Yep.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yep.
He's
love that
got the mind behind it, the way he is the counselor. Everything you love about the counselor is Ridley Scott, Michelle.
Let's just not talk about that movie ever again.
All we ever
Every
do is
time
talk
you
about
bring
it.
it up,
There's nothing about the movie that she loves.
every time you bring it up, we're going to go, what takes 30 years to get up to the 45th floor and 2 seconds to come down?
Larry.
This is why you have to subscribe. I mean, this is why.
This is the stuff you'll miss.
Because you won't
if
know
don't.
the inside jokes, people.
We're about
Get them.
35 minutes in. It's when the heat starts happening. About 30 minutes in.
This is gold, Jerry. It's gold.
It's big. So I guess.
Can I say one thing about podcasts in general?
Please do.
When I first started listening to them, I hated all the jibber jabber. I'm like, just get on to what you're supposed to be talking about. And then I didn't realize that as I listened to more and more of them, it's the jibber jabber between the people you hear every
I
week.
told you, I listen to.
That's what people want.
I listen to those guys up in Canada called Junk. I think Junk something. I forget the name. They go.
It's my favorite podcast. I know what the hell.
They talk about. I can tell you right now. They talk about.
It's a classic.
Movies for a while, but then the one thing. Film Junk. It's called Film Junk. These guys are great. One of the guys doing it. Have you seen that series on Shudder about the cursed movies?
Cursed movies?
No.
Cursed films?
Like Poltergeist.
Is that a cat or a rabbit? What is that? Oh, it's a dog. I couldn't see what was going on. Anyway, my point is...
It looked like a seal.
These guys will spend...
Just the handle.
I know, it's so weird. These
And
guys
if you're all looking for Drew's face, it's no longer appearing.
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
there we go. Okay.
So back to my favorite podcast that nobody wants to hear about. They'll go on for 30 minutes talking about how they alphabetize their DVDs, whether the spine's out, do they group them as, in all the same kind of movies together, genres, or do they do it alphabetically? They go on for 35 minutes, and I just love listening to it.
I was going to say, we could do that. Like, no problem.
I'm telling you, we all have...
I think we should do a podcast on other people's podcasts.
I bet there's a market for a podcast review show.
Sean was mentioning why he likes to listen to.
Let's listen to that one.
No, this is, I like this. I mean, what could be more enthralling than the laser drop, the laser disc, Memorial Day laser disc episode?
By the way, that's not even a laser disc. You know what that is?
What?
An album?
No, they slide it in, that one?
Yeah, that's one of those. That's one of those RCA.
Yeah.
Slide it in. CEDs, I think they're called.
I have that in Laserdisc.
Look at that. All that art. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Looks great in black and white, too.
And you haven't seen it since you saw it in the movies. That's great. Why don't you stuff that, Ralph?
I collect them.
I know.
Wait,
He said, I haven't seen it since it's been in the movies.
Yeah, you don't
But
watch
I've
it. You
got
just
this
look at the
special thing.
Oh, my
and
God,
I've
I love
got
this
the
movie.
DVD,
Look at that. Oh, my
and I've
God.
got this hat, and I've got the album.
All I'm saying is...
shirt. I got the ashtray.
I didn't say I'm not a fan. I just don't watch it all the time. So.
Oh, it's John's turn to leave the podcast.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, there he is.
Done.
But the,
Oh my God, it's the Fonz!
Funny, it just doesn't look the
He's
same.
just fighting off Nazis.
It just doesn't look right.
I'll say this, Ralph. It might not look
about
right,
that?
but I sure look more like him. You look more like Sean Connery.
Fine. Oh, that's a terrible thing to say. Oh, I feel so insulted.
Take your hat off. Take your hat off.
There you go.
See, Sean, there's conflict. You see
All right, I don't know why we're going to do this, but time to rate it. Okay?
no, Drew was saying something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in light of current events, sometimes you watch a movie and then you go back and you're like, is it fair to look at a movie through current eyes, the way it was done? Like all the native people in the movie in Egypt are basically props, except for Salah, who's played by a white man. That doesn't bother me. It's just interesting to look back and see that. My wife said, how did that girl write "love you" on her eyelids when they probably didn't have eyeliner in 1936? I said, see, these are the questions I don't think about.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it was really
They did have eyeliner, by the way.
Yeah.
Eyeliner has been around since
the Egyptian times. Yeah.
Thank you. So,
as the estrogen representative here at the podcast, I thought I would let you know.
But I have to say, it was really satisfying watching Nazis get their asses kicked.
Yeah,
it was a good villain.
The villains in these movies, I think Steven Spielberg has made these movies with these, they're not inaccurate, but they are cartoonishly evil Nazis. And then he's also made unbelievably realistic movies like Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List, and it's not about Nazis, but the most intense Steven Spielberg movie I've ever seen is still War Horse.
War Horse.
I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's amazing.
It's amazing, but it's unbelievable. But it was very satisfying, again, in an old-fashioned way. These are the bad guys. So he's going to beat the crap out of them, even if they beat the crap out of him. And at the end, even though I didn't see this the first time, they're going to melt and their heads are going to explode and all that kind of stuff. And it's really satisfying.
Yeah.
Right. You know who the good guys are. You know who the bad guys are.
Right.
There's not a lot of nuance.
Right.
The Nazis and the French guy.
Yeah, he was kind of a dick.
No, he was a good bad guy. He wasn't awesome.
He was a well-played bad villain.
Yeah. Him and Karen Allen had good scenes together.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
the main
objectified
Nazi
her a little bit with the dress.
Guy we were talking about, he always looked sweaty.
Yeah.
Every scene he was in, he looked oily.
He just
it was
greasy,
oily and
What shall we talk about?
Now that you brought that up, the scene I did also chuckle is when he starts serving her the drink, and we all think that she's going to outdrink him and knock him out. And then they cut back, and he goes, I grew up on this stuff. And you realize, she's not going to be able to.
And that was all improvised. That wasn't in the script.
Really?
That's what I mean. Everything they did worked.
They wanted to. They couldn't figure out how to get her in the dress. That when she went in the tomb, she'd be in that dress. So they came up with that. She came up with, let's go back to the drinking game, and then they came up with covering the knife up with her clothes. That was her motivation to put on the dress so she could do that. So they came up with that. Spielberg told them, figure it out on your own. If you come up with something, we'll use it. That's what they came up with.
Now, it's interesting because in most films, they try to figure out how to get the girl out of the dress.
Wow.
Good point, Sean.
Oh, my God. Shut up. Just shut up. We are not starting this BS again.
We always start this BS.
That said, I'm a delicate little flower. So, general question about movies, since you brought up an improvised scene. Do you like when movies you find out they've stuck to the script, or do you like when you find out there are certain scenes that were improvised?
Depends on the movie.
I'll tell you what I like.
If it works.
I love good improvisation, okay? But I like movies that appear to be completely improvised, and then you find out it's completely scripted.
That they stuck to the script.
That's what I love.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great
lot
script.
of times I can tell when it's improvised,
Well, you're a writer, though.
Yeah.
So
what gives it away? What gives it away?
I would have never written that.
Tell me in 20 seconds.
When they do this, Ralph.
It's usually when people are suddenly repeating themselves because
that's a David Mamet movie then.
Not to.
David Mamet scripts in all the repeats that he does in all his films.
You know what? And I will say one thing about David Mamet. I think I said it on our podcast, is that everybody talks about a great writer gives each character a different voice. Everyone in a David Mamet film talks exactly the same.
Right.
Like a Woody Allen film. They're all
who's the guy that West Wing guy? What's his name?
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin.
You know a Sorkin movie when you hear it.
Oh yeah. You know a Sorkin movie when you see it because they're always walking somewhere at some point. They're walking and talking and walking and talking.
I love
Moneyball.
Listen, I love listening to those. It's Quentin Tarantino. Same thing. I love listening to the dialogue.
Yeah.
Nothing better than that. So okay, well, ratings time.
Let's wind this up where everyone likes it. The end.
I think we'll have suspense this time.
No spoilers.
Okay, Drew, your rating?
Well, Yippee-Ki-Yay. It's just a great, fun movie that I grew up on, and it holds up. What else do I want from a movie from my childhood?
Wojo?
Yippee-Ki-Yay. It's a great flick.
Yeah.
Watched over again, you know.
Yeah. Sean?
What about
whoa.
Brad, sorry.
Yippee-Ki-Yay.
Okay. I just thought they're together. They always agree.
Hey.
Always agree.
We don't always agree.
No, we
one
don't.
of us likes the movie Fletch, and the other one has taste.
Oh, I love Fletch.
That was awesome.
The sequel.
I haven't seen it in a long time either. Hey, maybe that would be that.
I didn't know you guys had a disagreement. This is good to know.
Oh, we have disagreement.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Conflict.
Oh my God, famous
conflict.
I'll tell you this. Then everyone liked the movie. Who cares? We went to see. I took Brad when we were dating. We went to see Howard's End at the Senator.
Oh, you poor bastard.
Another movie you don't have to change.
He was like, "I will never see a costume movie with you again." That was a
let me tell you one story about Howard's End. I had this thing called the Baltimore Film Club, and we get anywhere from 10 to 30 people show up every other Monday night to watch a movie. So
that's as many. Hey, can you get all those people to subscribe?
Most of them are dead, thankfully. No, just kidding. But we went to see Howard's End, and I did the thumbs up. And everybody went thumbs up except this one guy, Chris Scharf. You may know him, Drew.
I sure do, sure.
And he said, wait a minute. How many of you really like this film? And how many of you just are doing this because you feel you have to say you like it? and it pretty much went almost all thumbs down.
Oh, wow. Called him out.
So did you say me on this film? I love this film. You know, despite the fact that it really did, the magic was diminished. But it's still a great film. It's still really well done, well written, well directed, well acted. You know, it's. I think Drew said it. The film is choices, and I think they made the right choice every time on this movie.
John, do I need to even ask?
I think you know how we feel about this movie.
For the people listening, he's holding the idol.
I'm holding the fertility idol from the opening scene. I give it a
actual one.
By the way, we haven't talked about Alfred Molina's first role in film.
I think because we're at the point where I'm supposed to say what I thought about the movie.
But I wanted to stop you because
how about when we get to you? You can talk whatever the hell you want to talk
It's my show. I can do whatever I want, and you're holding up.
It's your
John, I'm going for conflict.
now.
I'm just going for
it's Ralph's show. Well,
I started the show.
Thank you, dear Ralph, for letting us participate
the truth
in
is,
your show.
It was my idea. I mean, let's be honest, okay? So Alfred Molina's first scene was the tarantulas on his back.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a riot.
Wow. So the story is they put the tarantulas on him, and they wouldn't move. They weren't moving at all. So the wrangler said, you need a female, and then they'll move. And he said as soon as they put the female on his back, they went all over him.
Oh, my God.
I cannot even. That scene skeeves me out. I hate spiders.
That was pretty creepy.
Why does it always have to be spiders?
I'm sorry, John. Your rating was what?
Well, like I told you, this is my favorite movie of all time. So, of course, I give this a Yippee-Ki-Yay. And if you haven't seen it, please go out. Don't see the black and white version, though.
Now, let me ask you this.
Tasty in black and white.
An audience of kids now, I don't hear a lot of, you think kids now would find this movie?
I think if they sat down and watched it, I think they was it your niece or your granddaughter, Sean, who watched Superman?
Yeah.
And she loved it, right?
Yeah.
And how old is she?
She was 8.
8 years old.
Yeah, it's
and those special effects for the time were great, but looking through your eyes today.
And frankly, this movie's quick. This movie goes.
I think so.
I will say I've worked with producers at a major television network that have not seen this movie.
I believe that.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Wow.
Anyway, my rating is Yippee-Ki-Yay from
unanimous.
Like I said, the movie experience was phenomenal, obviously, and it stuck with me. I have all the stuff. I don't watch it all the time.
No, just look at the jacket.
I like to
obviously.
I collect movies. Okay, so good choice.
Thank you.
Easy choice.
Thank you.
Everybody loved it.
Up next week.
Next week, it's my movie, and we're going to do The French Connection.
With Gene Hackman.
The French Connection with Gene Hackman. That's right. Now, for next week, I'm not going to do it in black and white. I'm going to do a slightly faded kind of green tone to match the 70s look.
I'm going to do the animated GIF.
It'll be interesting to see how everybody reacts given what's going on right now in society with the policemen and all that, and this kind of what's going on in that movie. There's some pretty tough scenes in there based on some tough guys that were, in the 70s. So it should be an interesting watch, I think.
Okay.
So that'll be next week.
Owen
Or
Royceman,
next.
his fourth movie, I believe.
He's our patron saint of cinematographers, isn't he? We do a lot of his.
Owen Royceman. I think we've done 4 of his movies.
I think he has. We have.
He shot every movie that was shot in New York, I think, for a while there.
Oh, really?
That's great.
And I think he shot The Exorcist, too, if I'm not mistaken.
And everybody is always trying to duplicate the car chase, and nobody ever comes up with, they try and they just can't do it.
But we'll save that for next week.
Although the Mad Max definitely
July 22nd
did 8,000 of them.
Want to tease it a little bit?
What's that?
Yeah.
We want to tease July 22nd a little bit?
So July 22nd, we're having a special guest on Ralph's podcast.
Thank you.
The actor Lou Diamond Phillips will be joining us, and we will be talking about his movie, The 33.
Excellent.
Not just that one. We might be able to ask him questions about some of his.
Absolutely. If you have a question,
can we call him
I'm
Lou?
tired of seeing your shirt. Come on, get it together, man.
Can we call him Lou, or do we have to call him Mr. Phillips or LDP?
LDH. I think he's good with LDH, Ralph.
LDH. LDP. LDP.
For Phillips? Do you even know the guy?
It's your podcast. You can do whatever you want.
I said LDP. I don't know where the LDH came from. Can we call him Lou or Mr. Phillips?
I'm sure he'll go back to Mr.
You'll call him Mr. Phillips, and then he'll say, please, call me Mr.
Mr. La Bamba. Let's ask him to bring a guitar and play, because I
heard
know
he can. Okay.
Just like yesterday.
That's going to be exciting.
That'll be a good one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Somebody on my Facebook page proffered a question. And
I've been reading up on the 33, and it seems like it's going to be an interesting movie to watch as well.
So. Yeah, because I've told people that he's going to be on it, and they said, well, what movie? I go, well, we're doing the 33. Not La Bamba, but I saw the 33. It's a great movie. Everyone has said that. About 7 people have said that to me.
Well, and here's the thing. Him talking about La Bamba would be like
us talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was going to say us talking about Jaws, but...
Well, we haven't yet, have we? Because of that very reason.
Yeah, because, it just, he's...
Die Hard we have to do on our 100th show just because we're named after that.
Yes.
It's just his most iconic role.
I understand that. And
that's the only reason why.
But I think the 33 is an interesting one to do with him, so I'm looking forward. Young Guns was good, too. I'd like to talk about that.
The Cowboy Way. He was good in the Cowboy Way, too.
So.
Anyway,
but that's a good addition.
That's exciting. We're excited. We're excited.
We got some stuff coming up. Could be big. All right.
Could be.
Sean, your ring light looks fantastic. I don't have to do any
give it
color
up,
correction.
Sean.
So happy.
What great lighting.
Okay. All right, guys. Good job, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Everybody stay safe.
Stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe.
Done.